blah 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 blah. Cheers to another coffee cast. I guess we're gonna keep this going for as long as that I'm off Saturdays.
I would just like to say this coffee cast is unofficially sponsored by Lesser Evil Grain-Free Paleo Puffs. No cheese, cheesiness flavor.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I've never had that. Oh no, maybe I have. I know I've shared this guy's snacks before. I know they're good. You know. Yeah.
What Maxine's cookies? Oh man.
Oh man. So like yesterday I checked out our shirts, right? But I actually got to the Gelsons a little bit early. So our shirt person was like, I'll be there at 1. So I just kind of preemptively got there a little early, like 12:45.
Yeah.
And I was banking, to be honest, on them having Maxine's cookies.
They did.
Well, they did.
Oh, they did.
They did.
Nice.
So I got some, and then she was like, "I'm here. What car are you in?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm the one in the beige Accord eating cookies." And so she was like, "Oh, okay." This wasn't hard to find because I was sticking out, like looking on the very corner. So I was like, "All right, cool." But yeah, man, our shirts are coming. Just you watch. They're gonna be dope. They're gonna be dope, and they're gonna feel good, and you'll see. But in the meantime, yeah, I had some cookies, Maxine's. So
did you try the seasonal flavor?
What's the seasonal one again?
I think it's like pumpkin something.
Pumpkin.
Yeah.
Okay,
pumpkin
when
spice?
we went out last year to do our Joshua Tree stuff, did we? I know we got some cookies, but I don't remember if pumpkin was one of them.
Man,
I know there was
like
an orange one.
6 bags.
It was raisin, peanut butter, and chocolate.
I'm such an old man. I love the raisin one. You know,
Oatmeal raisin.
Oatmeal, that's my favorite. But all of them are fucking good. Like probably the orange, the peanut butter one is my least favorite, but it's still better than a whole lot of other cookies. Yeah. We like whole ingredients, wholesome food.
Yeah.
Whole foods. But we also, we're going to make our burrito, which is also in the pipeline. So
yeah,
it's going to be dope. Can't wait till that gets going, man.
Yeah, man.
Can't wait till we finally get those. Because that'd be also really cool to have our breakfast start off with one of those. Could you imagine that?
Us unwrapping it right here.
Yeah. That'd be pretty dope, actually.
Man.
And then imagine we have the griddle episode where we're going to have a griddle here and we're just like talking about it.
Sizzling right here.
Yeah. Sizzling beef. And then also a Korean barbecue episode. I think Korean barbecue ought to be really good.
I'll have the vent situation right here.
Oh yeah, ventilation is obviously key in any barbecue. So
Yeah, man.
So that's coming. In the meantime, support us, follow our podcast. We have here the Indescendants sticker on my hydro flask.
Yeah.
Stay
hydrated.
Stay hydrated. It's always good. I say that because I'm drinking coffee and that naturally dehydrates.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. But, it's actually been very nice and rainy lately. So it's the 23rd of October, the time that you're listening to this podcast. And it rained overnight, and I believe we are anticipating some more rain to hit us on Monday, which would be the 25th of October. So.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty...
See, I was going to wash my car yesterday.
Oh, thank God you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rain.
I did, and I had my sister's car washed, and unfortunately, it was all kind of for nothing, but her interior, really deserves some cleaning, so luckily we got that.
Yeah.
Chris at 818.
Shout outs to 818 Detailing. That's number 8, ONE18 Detailing.
Yeah, man. Give him a shoot.
Yeah, guys.
Shoot
Find him on
a
Instagram.
text. Speaking of shoot, Alec Baldwin.
Oh, man.
That's from pretty
What a
nuts
segue
stuff that happened. Oh, man. Alec Baldwin. That was quite a travesty that happened. Some backstory here. I barely read this story, but yesterday, apparently, he was on the set of this movie called Rust, which is supposed to be set in like some sort of old Western time. And he was on the set of a movie and was using a prop gun. Now, if the I believe if you want to look this up, the whatever time period it was, I think it was an old Western, which means there's no like semi-automatic or automatic weapons. Yeah. There's really like revolvers and all
like
that
Smith
stuff.
and Wesson, old school,
like Midwestern weapons.
Yeah.
So I think he fired one of them, not really sure what it was, and then he shot through one person and also hit another, which sucks.
Oh man!
Because that had to be a pretty powerful round to go off. But my question is this, like, I know there's supposed to be safeguards in place to check these weapons before they make it onto the set of a movie. So, like, I don't know exactly what happened. I'm just asking the question. Did this happen at all? Like, did somebody go in there and check, or was that person non-existent? Because I also understand there was a walkout before that happened because of unsafe working conditions or whatever. So that's my question. Were those safeguards in place, and was there somebody who checked, or did that person not show up that day? That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, where ultimately does the responsibility lie? Is it Alec Baldwin himself at the very end, or is it maybe a handler of sorts, a prop person, a PA? Like, you think
Here's what I think. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Alec Baldwin, I'm pretty sure he didn't mean to shoot anyone, because I think the culture in Hollywood is there's somebody to do that.
Yeah.
That the actor doesn't have to think of, or actress.
Which was my point.
Or act X has a way to think about. They don't have to think about it. There's somebody that's on the set that I think when you move on to a movie set, there's a person who checks out the firearms and makes sure they're blanks and make sure they're either not real or safe.
Yeah.
Somebody deems them safe, so everywhere moving forward from there, nobody has to worry about it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's good practice. I think anybody that handles a firearm, anybody, movie set, at home, in the firing range, the person holding the firearm should be the one responsible for checking if they are fake or not.
That's the end user right there.
You know, the end user. The end user should be ultimately the one who's responsible.
Yeah,
they should be the ones to check. If you're gonna handle a gun, it doesn't matter if you're a big-time movie actor or a gun instructor or a layperson. You ultimately have to know and respect that firearm every time as if it's a loaded weapon. That's just basic gun training.
Yeah.
They teach you that in gun school, that you have to make sure that the gun is unloaded, or you have to treat it as if it's loaded until you deem it safe. The action you almost always has to be open, and there's no magazine in it if it's a magazine-fed firearm. If it's a revolver, let's say for this movie, the cylinder has to be open.
And check all of them.
Yeah, the cylinder. Like, I don't know if you know what a revolver is, right? Yeah. Like, there's a cylinder that comes out usually, like in modern revolvers, like this. They are deemed safe once they're not there, because the bullets literally can't fire down the barrel of the gun when it's open, and you have to point it down a safe range. And when people hold firearms, they're not supposed to put their finger on the trigger. It's supposed to be like this. This is the trigger, right?
Yeah.
It's only supposed to go there when you're ready to shoot and you've deemed every other situation to be safe. Otherwise, your finger should always be like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I wonder if Alec Baldwin even knew any of that. You know, like, do they teach these? Like, Keanu Reeves, I'm sure, knows. After all that John Wick training and movies that he's shot, I'm sure that guy knows how to shoot a gun. Like, he even has videos of him on social media where he's like doing those like gun training, like those dual guns. It's like then moves on to another one, like a shotgun, like dude, the guy knows how to handle a weapon. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he has a respect for the weapon too. Yeah. So I don't think Alec Baldwin knows any of that. You know. Not to mention that guy's career was kind of in the shitter already. I think the best thing he had going for him recently was just parodying Trump. You know,
being on commercials.
being on a couple of commercials.
If I was Alec Baldwin, you know, I'm an older gentleman. I'm at the end of. I don't want to say the end of my life, but like I'm in my golden years now. Yeah. And like I don't want to spend my golden years having to go to court, being investigated, you know, to see if like I really knew that the gun was loaded and I had an intention to kill somebody. It's kind of like when Bill Cosby was indicted on rape charges. like you're supposed to be like chilling towards the end of your life and not going to court and facing jail time. I just think about how stressful a situation it is for Alec Baldwin right now, thinking, like why the hell did this happen to me? If his true intention wasn't to kill anybody, like I would be thinking, I didn't want to kill anybody. I didn't even know that the gun is loaded. Now I have to spend like a significant amount of time towards the end of my life going to court and resolving this issue.
Right.
I just imagine that's very stressful.
Right.
Stressful
taking
situation.
Blame, taking heat. Yeah.
I think I read that he's also being very compliant. He's not hiding anything. Like he's willing to cooperate and do all these things. But I'm wondering if the culture in Hollywood really is, some person checks it and then it's deemed okay. But if that person checks out, whose responsibility is it then? Because again, we understand that there was a walkout because of unsafe conditions.
Right.
So wondering whether or not, like, whose responsibility that is. I think ultimately my personal opinion is I think it is Alec Baldwin's fault.
Right.
You should check, man.
Right.
You're handling a weapon here. You're the one who pulled the trigger.
Yeah. A filmmaker buddy of mine did some further reading last night, and he told me, we're talking about it, and he read about how it was definitely a scaled down, lower budget, corners cut type of production. So again,
that's why they're probably these workers
those
walk out.
Yeah, those walkouts
they're
happened
being mistreated
because of that.
That's not good.
And so you could only imagine the trickle effect from handlers and whatever, the crew. So
dang, that sucks, man. We know this happens. Like, do you remember the first Power Rangers? Fuck yeah, you remember like Tommy and Billy, the blue Ranger.
Dude, I'd be watching it from the screen, the TV screen, like 3 or 4 inches away from the TV every time. But yeah, go ahead.
I think the reason. So I remember watching this YouTube video where they were talking about that first generation of Power Rangers. Apparently, those Power Rangers were in the same kind of like boat as these people are. I think.
I see.
They were being very overworked. They didn't have like clear cut times of when they start and when they end. And they didn't get a lot of money after that. And they didn't have a lot of benefits. Like they were just actors who were getting paid very little and being overworked. So one of them, I think, decided to walk out, and then 2 of them decided to be, whatever. And then they eventually killed off the rest of them.
Right.
And we're like, let's just have a new Power. That's why there are new Power Rangers almost every time now.
Right.
But apparently, that was their story. So there are I don't know what the union is for actors. I think it's what is
SAG-AFTRA,
Screen Actors Guild or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's their union, right? That protects them, that protects their wages and their time and all that stuff. So I wonder if that, because the smaller productions, they probably don't have that.
Yeah, or maybe they were deemed work for hire. So maybe contractually speaking, they were only paid for the day. Maybe promised 0 to no residual, any sort of royalty. Maybe that's a worst case scenario, but that could happen. I could see why they would walk out. Some would walk out,
and then it's just like there are Hollywood actors who actually know how to handle firearms, just like again Keanu Reeves. But then there was this video of Will Smith. I think they were on the set of either Bad Boys or something. One of their production guys was picking up the weapons. These are real weapons apparently, right? And this guy picks it up, right? And Will Smith's looking at the corner of his eye because he points the gun like this and it's facing other people. Oh, and Will Smith's like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah.
He bats it down, takes the weapon from him to make sure the weapon is clear, takes the magazine out, and then he's just puts it down. He's like, man, don't do that.
Yeah, that would make my heart race, dude. That would make me so...
Will Smith
at unease.
Yeah, Will Smith is well taught. Or at least Will Smith understands the basics of gun training.
It's common sense almost.
It's common sense almost.
No, it is.
To him, at least, it is. He's like, bro, what the... what are you doing, bro? Like pointing the gun at people like that, regardless of whether or not it's been deemed safe. The end user should know. So, it's like saying like, oh, he told me it was in a court of law. Do you know if that's going to hold up? He told me it was safe, so I pointed it at him.
Yeah.
But you fired the gun.
We can only assume what was going on in Alec's
This
head.
is all assumptions. All assumptions right now. So the person, I think the people who got hit were the director. Who I think I don't know if they died. I know one of them died. I think at least one of them died. And the director of cinematography, who was very likely in the line of fire because they needed to get that shot.
Yeah.
And speaking as somebody who lives for that sometimes to get those shots, and sometimes you kind of have to put yourself in different positions to get the shot that you want or the shot that you like.
Positions,
So sometimes you need to look at the barrel of the gun sometimes to get that kind of shot. But again, Alec Baldwin should have checked. I really think he should have checked.
End user.
It'd be different if he was a lot younger and he was more naive. But because he's like, what? How old is Alec Baldwin now? Old as
He's
shit.
in the 70 club? 60, 70
He's
club?
probably 60s, 70s. Like he's been around for a while, decades on sets of movies.
Yeah. With a lot of experience.
It doesn't bode well for him, being older and having to. He should know more, I think.
That's tough.
So it's not cool. It's like it's sad that people had to die, but I just think that he should have checked himself.
Yeah. I can only speculate, if it was bad.
This is all speculation.
Yeah, all speculation, guys.
Full disclaimer.
If it was, a grueling and sort of, low end budget, people are tired on set. Maybe the handler was whoever placed the prop there, the actual firearm there. Maybe he didn't check. It's just. What am I getting at? Rest is important. What if they were really tired,
There's a spectrum here, right? And I'm going to bring up Japan and Asian countries again because it's like, see, on one side of the spectrum, you work so hard, that you burn yourself out and you feel like, there's no other end to your life other than to just end it. I think that's an extreme.
Yeah.
Because that happens in Japan, unfortunately. But people still work hard. The culture there is you got to work hard. And you don't count on a union to give you breaks and all that stuff. And, that's good too. But it can also be bad because you get overworked versus, here in America, more of the culture is focused on that union break, on that union protection, because there's a good and a bad side to the union, right? But the good side is you don't get overworked and you get your fair wages and you get a break and you make sure that it's a safe and good working environment, right? But the bad side is there's people who take advantage of that.
Right. They really milk it.
Yeah, they milk it. So it's like, I'm going to go on break. We know this because DWP is one of these unions who does it. They've already been like, these guys are the highest paid city employees in Los Angeles. And they've been like found at strip clubs. They've been found having breakfast on the clock, we need power, but they're protected by a union, and it's like there's rate hikes for them. They get paid so well, and it's just like I know so many of them that are so lazy to do that job.
Yeah,
I don't get that.
Yeah,
like I don't understand why it takes 4 people to do like screwing a light bulb kind of thing.
So to speak.
I'm not saying that's all they do, but what I'm saying is like I feel like they're not really being efficient. They're just milking the union privileges.
Yeah. I thought of something maybe to sort of typify it. It's like selective integrity. It's like I'm only going to have the work integrity and like be prideful of my job if it's a menial task or whatever, F it. I'll service workers, they could care less, but if you're in a sort of higher level job, it's like if it matters more, maybe you care more.
Maybe
type of thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
integrity.
Integrity is so hard to come by nowadays. And the first thing people want to do is just take it down. With like the internet and social media and all this, the first thing anybody wants to do is ruin your integrity.
Yeah.
And some people fold under that pressure. And then they become like a worse person as a result. But, it just really sucks sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, whatevs. Like, there's nothing we can do to help that. I recently have just decided to stay off social media. I just post in Ghost, which is kind of it's kind of a thing that I've heard first from Joe Rogan, where he's just like, he doesn't read comments, he doesn't read messages, he just posts stuff, and he thinks is authentic to himself, which is usually pretty funny, and he just doesn't care what the internet has to say about it. And I believe that's how people should be. Responding to trolls. I don't know that. Like, what happens is, like, when you respond to trolls is you enable these people, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's always going to be somebody out there who's going to try to talk shit about you. And it's just because they're behind the safety of a keyboard and a screen and the vast distance separated by the internet.
Right.
So what's the point of going through that channel just to kind of like respond to these people?
Right. That just wasted mental space and time.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, I don't understand why people engage in that kind of behavior. Personally, like, I it's just like, well, let them say what they want, let them do what they want to do, and it's just, if you want to talk to me like you are talking to me right now, just face to face. Say what you want to, because like a lot of people don't say. I'm pretty sure a lot of people wouldn't say what they're saying on the internet to people's faces.
Yeah.
And not authentically. Because it's like, man, like, especially if it's somebody like Keith who does Muay Thai, it's like, would you really say that to his face?
Right. If you knew,
he'd kick your ass.
The repercussions.
Well,
I just thought of something, guys. You can weaponize anything, and when you weaponize something, it feeds your ego because it gives you power, right? Like, for instance, our cars. That's weaponizable. Like, if you're selfishly taking out your anger, whatever your aggressions on the road, that's so selfish. You're just weaponizing it. People are weaponizing social media because it's so easy. You just type whatever negative, bad stuff you want to say, and you've immediately weaponized the internet. It's like, man,
I know, it just sucks.
Check this out, right? Along our discussion about trolls and it being so easy to disrespect people on social media, and you saying stuff on social media that you wouldn't say to people's face. So Mike Tyson has a great quote, and this quote goes as, social media made you all way too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it.
Oh, I remember hearing this quote. This is such a true quote.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Some of these trolls have like incredible courage when they're behind a keyboard, but when you come face to face to somebody, they wouldn't say what they say on social media to somebody's face.
Like, I've never met Mike Tyson, but I remember Joe Rogan would say, like, man, he felt like Mike Tyson was going to leap out of the chair and kill him. Because he's like, I'm so glad I had this much distance between him and me. He was like, yeah, like, dude, like, you wouldn't say shit to Mike Tyson. He'd fuck you up. I'm pretty sure.
I remember The Fight on television, on pay-per-view television. I remember The Fight. That's just crazy. Side note, but man.
What, when he bit off Evander Holyfield's ear?
Yep.
Oh, man.
That's the one.
Damn, that was nuts.
That was nuts.
That was nuts.
That was so crazy.
That guy's a killer, man. He's just he was just legendary, one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But going back to his point, he's absolutely right. Now trolls have an avenue to, express themselves without having to experience any negative repercussions for it.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Like, Dave Chappelle said this too, where he was like, we're just creating a society of pussy ass bitches. Like, it's so true. Where it's just like, there's no consequence because you can hide behind the internet. When you can hide and when you feel safe and secure, of course you're gonna bring out like these emotions, or it's just like, all right, dude, like. It's so confident, and it's just like flexing, like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't actually say that to somebody who could fuck you up, or you wouldn't really say that to somebody in person. Yeah. So I remember there was this guy that I still kind of work with. He's just like this he's, he and I, we don't really see eye to eye, but that's cool.
Okay.
But I hear this guy say shit behind my back and in passing. Man. So it's just kind of like, all right, Brent, he wouldn't say it to my face.
Yeah.
And
it goes around.
And it just, I mean, like when it goes around, it's like, I don't care what he has to say.
Right.
Like, he's like literally bigger because he's fatter than me and taller.
Yeah.
But he's just like a fat piece of shit.
Yeah.
So like,
Fair enough.
he wouldn't say it to my face. Like, I don't even know what I did to do whatever to him. Like, I breathes like has apnea even while he's awake, like sleep apnea. So, like, I don't hate on the guy, but if he says it to my face, he's never done it. It's like,
it always has to come around the water cooler, and you're like, oh man, damn,
whatever.
Why'd he say that?
There, people like that are just losers, dude.
Yeah.
It's like you just want to say it in passing, wouldn't say it to my face. But whatever.
It's so easy to. Quick side note: it's so easy to have easy workplace banter, be shit talking, because it's easy. It's easy, and
I mean,
it's really easy to shit talk.
It's real easy and sometimes real fun to shit talk, but sometimes we shit talk amongst friends and it's funny.
Yeah.
And it's just like
within that circle.
Can you like? It's okay, especially like I would harp on some of my gay friends for being on Grindr, but we laugh. Like it's funny.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about like having a laugh here, man. Like
yeah.
Doesn't the world? Even Steve Perry said this like decades ago. We all need the clowns to make us smile. I'm saying it really. Yeah. It's like, dude, we need a smile every now and again. Nowadays, what's being pushed on social media is a smileless agenda, where what's being fed to you more is stuff that incites hate and fear and, disproportionate negative emotions. I don't think that's a good thing for our society.
Right.
I really don't. Like, I really think this is a bad direction that we're heading by propelling negative things. Like some people's videos that wouldn't normally get this many like followers or attentions all of a sudden get more followers because they're just inciting more hate or victim mentalities.
Right.
And I dislike that so much, man.
That victim mentality trickles into pushing non-issues as non-issues and really making it an issue. It's like, that's, oh man.
Yeah, I don't see the benefit of putting all these negative things on social media and gaining likes for it. But that's just the culture we live in now, man. Where it's like you post your misfortune or you post how you're a victim, and Instagram or Facebook, they love pushing that for some reason. Because I guess it garners views, right?
Yeah, it's business.
It's a business move. It's not because they want to spread fear and hate in it, but it's just like, dude, it generates like people staying on platforms and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question. Can you imagine how bad the world would be if Ra's al Ghul actually proceeded with his plan to vaporize the toxin in the water supply, and everyone was living in intense fear? Even more than what we're living in right now.
Again, that's a note from Batman Begins, which is that entire Nolan Batman series is better than all the Marvel movies combined. I think it was so good. Like, so good, Like, I personally really, really like that one. I think that one is my favorite, But, yes, I think that's happening now. Don't you think that's happening now? Like, I think it's happening now.
Maybe Ra's al Ghul did succeed in his plan, and COVID was the toxin.
We're all living in fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally think that like that toxin is being spread some way, somehow, some distance. It's like we're all fearing things now as a result anyway, Did you need something, Tito? Yeah.
Give me the container of the pencil. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Art time. Jason's dad's a great artist because he made like these... he makes these... Yeah, he says hello. Yeah, Jason's dad's a great artist. He makes like these drawings of like album covers. So he made some of like Paul McCartney and John Lennon and Ringo Starr and George Harrison up there.
Check this out. I'll circle back to an earlier podcast discussion. That's my dad's outlet. He plays guitar. He likes drawing. That's why he's not like too crazy in the head. You know, it's always nice to have an outlet. If you have an outlet, you don't have to use social media as your outlet, negatively speaking, to shit on people. Man, it's just
like
that's a great way of putting it. Your
outlet.
dad is a great example. I like how that tied in.
That
was really cool. You know, like
even with my life, right, with all the things that I got going on, I really don't have the energy to hate on anybody, which is why I don't hate on anybody.
You know, as gruesome as it is working in the service industry, which I am, and in a sort of a cool managerial position to oversee people, but it's when you deal with a lot of dickheads, of course it's gonna it's gonna scathe away at you. But at least for me, I've learned to not take things personally, and I've been sort of bad at that, but I'm getting better. I'm not gonna admit I'm perfect. What was my point here? My point was
have an outlet.
Have an outlet, yes. And I come home and I'm a little tired or whatever. I'll play guitar. Try to come up with some cool stuff for our band and play drums.
Have an outlet.
Go for a run. Go for a run with Scout, my dog. Just have something. Have an outlet.
I think in having an outlet, it puts you on your path and focuses you on your path to where, like, if anything else that comes around that's not part of your focus or is not along your path, then you just dismiss it and it doesn't even matter. Right?
Pressure release.
So, yeah. I mean, like, just stay on your path and you'll be busy enough. You'll be too busy to hate on people.
Yeah.
And that's really it. Just have something that's authentic to you and just do it. To where your identity isn't tied to like being a troll.
Yeah.
Or your identity isn't tied to being a victim.
Yeah.
I just, I wouldn't know what it's like to be a trans person, because I know they go through a lot. I'm not saying that they don't face adversity, because I know they do.
Right.
But to bring down Dave Chappelle and to do all that stuff, first of all, if you've ever watched the Dave Chappelle special, The Closer on Netflix, I don't think that it said anything bad. And maybe I'm just looking at this. It's hard to say because I can't see it the way a trans person would, but I was just trying to be as objective as possible. He was joking about trans people, but not in a sense where it was like, oh, it's like he wasn't degrading them at all. He was just speaking the truth. And yet the truth has now, in nowadays society, the truth has become this malleable thing where it's like it can be anything you want it to
be bent anyway.
It could be bent in any way, and it's like it's how you choose. It's like there are certain facts that used to be true, like gender, and now that's not a thing. Now it's like you can be. There's like so many different versions, like a pansexual, a demisexual, an asexual. I don't know. You can be all these kinds of sexuals now, and I think society's a little too woke. On one side of the spectrum, you couldn't be who you wanted to be, and that's how it was like before in the olden days. You couldn't be gay, you couldn't be this, you couldn't be whatever.
One extreme.
Now it's like we've swung it here towards the middle, but overdid it, and now we're here where it's like too woke, I think. Where it's like now you can't say any jokes about being neutral or bad. Obviously, this one's bad, but yet being in the middle is bad too. So you have to look at it this way. Where it's like it's either you see it my way or you're transphobic.
I wonder, guys, and maybe this is not the time nor place to talk about what I'm about to say right now. But I wonder what prompts, for instance, your adolescent or your teenage, nice Hydro Flask, nice sticker. Your teenager to prompt them to be like, I think I'm going to change genders, or it's maybe it's environmental, maybe it's an issue where family life hasn't fostered X amount of maternal or paternal sort of foundation. Maybe that prompts sex change, or maybe it's a trendy maybe it's really trendy to be bisexual, or insert blank here, sexual, or I don't know. These are the things I wonder, and it's like trying to deal with these extremities of or dealing with so many options of and fluidity. It's weird. It's really tough times.
I think just like with anything,
What prompts that?
it stems from, it's prompted from like some sort of need that needs to be filled, and it could be anything, right? For like love and acceptance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Acceptance, yes, love, yeah.
Love's a big one. Very true. That's probably, again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I bet you that.
And when that pyramid is flipped, it's like,
I feel like it's flipped now.
And it has been flipped.
People are.
Go ahead, Keith. I'm sorry. Go ahead on your train of thought if you could hop back on.
I was just gonna say, talking about the truth. I got another quote from the Dark Knight series.
Hit it.
When Alfred talks to Bruce Wayne, saying, "I am using the truth, Master Wayne. Maybe it's time we all stop trying to outsmart the truth and let it have its day."
Very true, man. It's some people like. This is just true of society in general, where it's like we can't accept truths anymore. We have to make them whatever's true to us, and that's it. There's no. It's like being objectively true is not a thing anymore. Where it's like
you almost question its integrity. It's like that's real.
As you should. Truth should always be questioned, but I believe that's what hardens the truth, and that's what makes it really even more true is when you question it. Yeah. Not try to bend it backwards. Like, people refuse to accept whatever's true anymore, and this goes for anything. Like, let's say gender, right? It's like you are born male. You have male reproductive hormones. You are full on like... you go through the entire male cycle, but you choose to become a woman. It's like, okay, so now you absolutely dislike it when people call you he, even though that's what you were born as, even though that's what you are. And, although I'm for having you be called whatever you want, because that's true though, like it's like me saying right now, as I'm standing here sitting across from you, if I choose to identify as a woman, I'm right. And you can't be wrong. Otherwise, this whole trans community is going to get behind me. Like, why? Like, that's the society we're in now. It's like you got to take the side of the victim. And we were talking about this with my friend the other day, where it's like, I wonder if people are doing these legitimately, or I wonder if they're doing these just to fit a narrative. Let's take, for example, the Avengers Endgame. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, but you should have seen it now. It's already like 2 years old. There's a scene in the final battle where Spider-Man had to get the Infinity Gauntlet with the Infinity Stones that Tony Stark made to the portal in Ant-Man's van, right? So it's A to B line. There was a scene where he's like, I don't know if I can get it there, or something like that. And like, don't worry, you got help, or something like that. Or she's got help. So all the women in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, come together. And there was like this big uplifting scene because it was all women. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
Which is big. I'm not trying to discount it, but to me it felt disingenuous a bit, because it's like, oh, you're clearly just making a scene here because you don't want to get flack for not having the women have their own scene kind of thing. Right. So you jam-packed it into this only one scene.
Right.
So it was like, all of them, like Gwyneth Paltrow and all that. It's like, did you really do that just to do it?
Almost for like social compliance sake.
Or you're trying to do it to fit the times. It's disingenuous. And then we started talking about Top Gun, because we've all seen the first Top Gun.
Oh, yeah.
Great movie, right? And he was like, dude, what if at the end of the movie, like Maverick is not Maverick anymore in the second Top Gun, and he's like gotta, hand over the reins to somebody else, and it's like a female, or it's a gay person, or something, or trans, right. God forbid.
Right.
Like, clearly, if they do that trans thing, it's not because, again, I'm not scoffing at it because they're trans. I'm scoffing at it because they're clearly trying to fit a narrative, and I don't believe in that. I like, unless you write it well. But again, I don't see anything that's happening as genuine anymore, because everybody's just trying to fit a narrative, in the same way that they nominated Black Panther for Best Picture 3 years back.
I understand
Like, did they really nominate it because it was a good movie? Because I thought it was good. I didn't think it was Best Picture good. I think what they were doing is like, because this is a movie with a black main actor and big black cast, BBC. So like, I'm wondering if they're trying to make that narrative because they really think it is, or because they're trying to get people off their back.
Right.
It's very rare that you can fit both, but I don't feel like stuff like that is like genuine. So we were talking about it, like, dude, if Top Gun does something like that and it doesn't feel right, like, we'll know, and it'll just suck. So I'm hoping that's not what happens. Again, I don't hate on any minorities or people, but I just get the feeling that what's happening nowadays is just a result of fitting narratives and not being true to whatever's being written.
Right.
So that's what I think.
I don't know if this is related to what we're talking about, right?
Go ahead, Keith.
I think a more appropriate response to any sort of backlash would be like a cordial conversation. Let's say in the case of the trans community, like if I was a trans person and if I wanted to be understood, I would just look to conduct an interview or see if I can get on Joe Rogan podcast, just so I can like cordially and genuinely express myself as to like why, I see things the way I do.
Right.
And hopefully if enough people like listen to that, it'll build some sort of tolerance and understanding. And, people can say, oh, okay, I understand why they want to be called he or she.
Right.
Okay, instead of fighting it, I'll understand where that person's coming from. And, I'll try to make a compromise and, I'll call that person whatever he or she wants to be called, or, I'll respect their preference. But, that doesn't happen nowadays. We're living in a world of like harsh tweets. Facebook posts, Instagram posts. I guess the term is passive aggressive.
Yeah.
We're living in a world of passive aggressive social media posts. Whereas I think it would just be more appropriate if we had more like interviews and conversations that would really educate everybody else, so that we can build that tolerance and understanding.
Right. Unfortunately, Keith, the media outlets have operated at their extremities when it comes to agenda. There's a handful of maybe neutral outlets.
I like the way you worded that. They operate at extremities, because I believe that's true, man.
Yeah, because
it's true.
These cordial conversations, they're not sexy at all, and it doesn't sell.
It doesn't sell.
If only we had a big summit where like everyone would come together and like let's hash it out.
That's the real way humans should interact, like the way we're talking right now. I know, Keith, you're not here, but it's like this is really the next best thing, and it's still just as good as you being here.
Yeah,
because it's like, look, just as long as we're talking to each other, we can see each other. It's different from when we can't. When you take those variables out, when you're not talking to someone directly and when you can't see them directly, it changes.
Just to hear someone out auditorily, that's not even a word, I think, but just to hear you, like having a phone call. Super side note, but it's like the difference between a text and a text messaging and an audio conversation. It's like you can hear inflection, you could hear what you mean. All the passive aggressiveness via text, there's a veil of like, I don't really understand what you're saying. For instance, like maybe like someone I'm interested in is talking to me, and I'm like, and they say something that I feel might be wrong. I might take it the wrong way because I didn't hear it. I didn't hear the inflection in your voice. That's just one little minute example. But yeah, if we only increase the number of actual human face-to-face visual, audio and visual interactions, then maybe the world would be a better place.
Yeah, because we communicate with more than words. There's sub-communications in our actions, in our facial expressions, and the timing of how we say things, the intonation in our voice, like what Jason said. And there's not a lot of that nowadays because it's so convenient to just communicate via virtual means. But, speaking of tolerance and understanding, I remember in like 2017, I was taking a vacation in Asia, and I was
Nice.
active on Tinder at the time. And being on vacation, I might have swiped right more than I should have, and then eventually,
Indulging.
yeah. And so I swiped right, and I matched with a trans individual, right? And I thought it would be fun to just converse with this person. He or she, whatever he or she wanted to be called, just flat out said, "Hey, I'm a trans person,"
Which
and I was like, "Oh, okay," and I was like, "All right," and then I just decided to have like a polite and cordial, like text message conversation
Okay.
with
Yeah.
he or she.
Yeah.
And I just asked like some questions like, "Oh, why are you on here? And why? Well, yeah, why are you on Tinder? What are you looking for?" And that kind of gave me insights as to the preferences of a trans individual or trans community, and really, like, they're after the same things that straight people are, gay people
Right.
are, what everybody else is after: love and acceptance,
Some affection.
connection,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
human
affection.
emotion,
Yeah.
human
Yeah.
interaction, right?
Yeah.
So, with that, we all want the same things off of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think we just need to take a step back and realize that we all have the same needs, and just take more time to like listen to each other and
Yeah,
stop with this passive aggressive jabs towards each other.
Yeah.
Because
I
have
think
more
that's-
conversations.
I think that's such a good way to put it, where it's like, yeah, we are after all the same things. Like we all want that. We all want that human interaction. We all want that intimacy. We want to feel like we belong, right? And I think the reason why communities and minorities push back is because they get a feeling that they just don't belong where they feel they should be. That just goes for any minority. That goes for any kind of community you can think of. They just want to feel like they can find a place where they can fit and they won't be prejudiced against it.
Right.
Where they feel like that's just how they feel, unless you're killing people. I don't think you should belong anywhere. But, like you should imagine there's a day that comes where it's like, oh, yeah, we're murderers and we want to exist. Like, what
Man.
dude, what the heck? No, but on a side note, back to the main course. Really, like, they just want to feel like they belong. And I get that. And I totally respect that. And, I won't ever walk up to anybody and just try to make them feel like they aren't. Like, I get it if you want to feel like you belong. If I don't agree with you, we don't have to like each other. Like, if I don't agree with what you're doing, or if you don't agree with what I'm doing, there are people like that in the world. Sad to say, but it's true, right? There's people who you just won't make happy, period. You don't have to get along with these people. Can we at least agree to be cordial and talk and only be
Right.
and only engage in conversation if we need to, and if not, we'll go our separate ways.
Yeah.
So there's another aspect to this, right? So I mentioned the tolerance and understanding part of communication and interacting with these specific groups, like the trans community. But Tim, I had mentioned this concept to you before, and it was around the concept of hood politics. And if I understand the concept correctly, hood politics is, if you don't start shit, then there won't be shit. I think another part of this problem is we think we have all this freedom, going back to our hiding behind the keyboard example, that we would say shit that we wouldn't say in front of people's faces. I think what we need to do is also be selective as to what we put out in social media, and really think, is this something that I would say to somebody's face?
Right. The golden rule should apply online as well.
Yeah,
but it does,
because like in my understanding from the Kendrick Lamar album, I forgot what album it is, but like with hood politics, I guess, like, yeah, if you don't start shit, then there won't be shit. And if you start shit, then, it kind of starts, before you could even resolve your differences, it results in like drive-by shootings, gang beatings, all these things that could have been, all these like really bad things that could have been prevented as, it could have been prevented if you were just conscious of what you said about somebody, or you thought twice, like, hey, how is this going to be received by by how is what I say is going to be received by the person I'm like trying to communicate to.
Some people just want to see a rise, though, Keith. It's like that's another type of ego feeding mechanism. Yeah, it just feeds your it just feeds your ego. It's like, oh, I'm gonna see what happens because it's fun, or makes me feel good that I started this shit. Sorry guys. Speaking of needs, I really gotta pee. It's unhealthy to hold your pee. So
Yeah,
drink your water and go pee.
Well, it's because we're
BRB.
hydrated today, man. We're drinking off our flask.
Oh man, I gotta put mine on. BRB.
Yeah, man. Go for it.
I drank a gallon of water today. I noticed that when I hydrated well, my training is easier.
Oh, I know. Like, having good hydration is everything, you guys. Make sure you drink a lot of water. Just water, too. Try not to drink any sugary drinks, which is really big here in America. Yeah, but it's not good. Apparently, we have fans in Australia, though. So that's cool. Thanks, Australia, for tuning in. I don't know who in Australia tuned into us, but we love you, man.
Yeah.
I
was here in Singapore. I get most of my grass-fed beef from Australia because here in Singapore there isn't a lot of room for to have cows grazing. Yeah, agriculture and cows grazing land. So everything's imported from Australia. But yeah, during training today, I was hydrated and I was sparring with somebody who was maybe 50 to 60 pounds heavier than I was. And typically, well, in the past, I would be out of breath when I was still getting in shape. But now that I'm in shape and I was hydrated, I was able to hang with this heavier person. And actually, the heavier person was quite winded because he was a smoker.
Oh,
and he was kind of fat. So,
hey, props to him for even doing Muay Thai.
No, actually, it was jiu-jitsu.
Or jiu-jitsu, sorry.
So I was sparring with him, and he was really out of breath. So the instructor comes up to him, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You don't look okay." But I usually have a hard time with heavier guys because just with that amount of weight on you, it just makes you much more tired because you have to labor more when you're performing your movements. And I was not winded at all today because good hydration. So
I know. Just good hydration, man. Drink your water and don't hold in your pee.
Yeah, don't do it.
And I have a feeling that health is really simple. It's not always easy, but it is simple. What if you got the basics down to where you slept 7 to 8 hours every night, you maintained good sleep hygiene, you drank a lot of water, and the foods you ate were ingredients that you understood and they didn't have some sort of scientific or chemical name. And let's say what if you just did those 4 things? I think that would make a lot more people more healthy.
And happy.
Yeah,
Maybe these chemically, I don't know what tangent you guys, conversation tip you guys hopped on, but what if all the GMOs and scientifically engineered fast food chemically induce some sort of like aggression or, just mess with your brain and it made you act adversely, maybe.
Well, Keith and I have been talking about that for a bit.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
We've been saying, sometimes there's, a whole lot of things and, sugary drinks and really bad food out there that just makes people, especially the long-term effects, and it's mostly going to, once or twice, not going to hurt, but once you're on that for, a long time,
yeah,
like our favorite individual who we like to talk about, he's probably been downing that stuff for decades.
Yeah.
And it's probably caused him to think in this, fashion that we find hilarious because he's
it is laughable because it's like come on, what are you doing?
Yeah. So it's just funny, or it's just like that guy, man. Like I don't. In some ways, I kind of wish we could bring him on here.
Maybe we
but
should.
then he's gonna know, like, oh my god, like we've been saying all this stuff.
Hey, you know what? We kind of did already. Remember, Tim?
That's true. We already spoke to this guy. We just haven't
Yeah.
posted it, but we do have records of us talking.
Oh man.
We have, and it's just kind of like,
Oh man. Oh man. Oh,
So
man.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe if we do bring him on, that'd be interesting. It'd be like,
Nice.
you realize we've been talking all this stuff about you.
It's because we care, man.
I when I talk, I try to like be the polite and tolerant one. But I saw something on YouTube. It might have been from Dave Chappelle saying that, like, it's you're tolerant and you're nice and you're patient until they come after you, right? And then when they come after you, even if you try to be patient and tolerant and understanding, then that's when you're like, okay, I've tried everything, and like, no more Mr. Nice Guy, like.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why there's all this outrage, like towards a specific group, right? Because you're out to get everybody, even if people try to be polite to you, and you can't even like realize when someone's trying to be polite and understanding to you, and you come after them as well. And it's like, all right, like it's happened to me. No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Right.
Like, add me to your list of haters.
Yeah. I try to speak to people in a sense where it's like, look, I don't want to be approached confrontationally. Like, I try to treat people the way I want to be treated, where it's like, hey, why don't we initiate a conversation? Do you ever want to be walked up to and it's just like, I'm going to fuck you up? Or it's like, what the fuck? People are like all in your face and in your grill. Like, dude, take a step back. What's going on? Then it becomes like, you that saying, you attract more with honey than with vinegar, unless you're Filipino. So it's just kind of like let's be honest here. Like, let's just be cordial. Let's be nice. Let's talk. Let's be the voice of reason. And I think that I'm somebody who's very objective when I approach a situation. So I try to approach it from a lot of different angles, and I try to play devil's advocate in a way that is respectful.
No.
And I try to see things in multiple lights. Like the other day, I was asking my friend, like, hey, what's the deal with like this? I was talking about how in media, why is it that smokers get all this... they get all this flack for being smokers. And what I mean by that is there are aggressive media campaigns that talk about how smokers are bad, and when you smoke, it's a bad thing, right? So you remember those commercials where they had like the woman with the tracheostomy here?
Yeah.
Where she was like smoking through here?
Yeah, and Drew
You know how they make it look really bad? And
Yeah.
then they had another one where it's like a guy was doing this with a cigarette, so he looked like a chimp.
Like,
There's
that's
another
an old
person
one. Yeah,
with
yeah.
like that looked like a fish by doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's aggressive media campaigns against smoking.
Okay.
Why are there no aggressive media campaigns against overeating, which is just as bad?
Right.
Where it's like you're stuffing your face.
I have
like
a thought, because food inherently is a necessity and commodity.
Yes.
And because that is, it's like, it's not that it's hard to that was my only point, Tim. Maybe you could delineate that, but it's a commodity, and why would you hate on a commodity? It's like you could almost indulge and it's going to be okay, because food is food. Food is good. Should be good.
Yeah, I mean, food, that's the hard part, is that you actually need food to survive.
Right.
But you don't need cigarettes to survive.
Exactly.
So that's the argument here, is that like you need those.
But it's so easy to have a food in excess, and when food of bad quality in excess, that becomes a vice,
But from what I heard, so I talked to my friend about this because she's a female.
Yeah.
And now I know females get a lot more flack for being overweight.
Right.
Or being not in the right, and this is air quotes, right shape. Because like when you look at Forever 21 ads, or when you look at, like those big, like Victoria's Secret, that's a big one. You remember looking at those catalogs? Well, I do, because they're hot. But let's be honest, did you ever see a fat person there? No.
Not when we were growing up.
Not when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So the narrative was, for females, you got to be thin and beautiful with big boobs and a big butt. They didn't explicitly say that you should be this, but it was
Certainly
heavily implied,
yeah.
right? So if you're not this, you're not beautiful. And again, that's a very thin, pun intended, I guess, a very thin margin of women in the world are really like that, right? So now the media campaign for a lot of these companies is to include more, I guess you could say, realistic women.
Sure.
So now there are ones who are bigger than those models previously. Plus size.
Yeah.
And even they're saying that even those aren't real plus size women. It's like to become a plus size woman of that kind of caliber, it's like, it's like really difficult to be that. So yes, they're including people who are more overweight and realistic. And I get that. That's okay. Like, I don't think you can, it's like saying every man should have a six pack.
Right.
Where a six pack is like really difficult to get.
Yeah.
Like and full disclaimer, a six pack is mostly diet. Mostly your diet. Like that's the real way you can get a six pack, is mostly diet. And obviously you're doing like workouts and all that, but like you can do 100 sit-ups a day or whatever. If you're not eating right, you won't get it. You got to eat right. And that's really, really hard. So people who have a six pack is like really difficult, and I respect that. It might be, I don't know this for sure, but it might be the same for women, where it's like to get thin and beautiful like that, it's pretty much mostly diet. They probably eat like a pea a day, and that's it on a plate. Like I'm joking, but what I'm trying to say here is that it's difficult, and I can see where they're coming from. But again, it's like, I don't know, maybe Victoria's Secret's trying to fit an agenda where it's like they got to be inclusive, where it's like, are you doing it because you want to legitimately do it, or
back to your point earlier, Tim?
Maybe they're also trying to fit a narrative.
Yes.
Which again, I get it. You don't want to be on the side where you're shaming people.
Right. And these are big brands, big companies, multi-million-dollar brands, conglomerates, umbrellas where they have other brands under them. Of course, they don't want to get flack. It's big business. They want to be protected. And by fitting the narrative, of course, it is business.
It's a business move. There's no arguing that. But, but what I don't understand with this whole fat shaming thing, I don't want to shame anybody just because they look fat. Again, there's so many benefits to being thinner and to just having not so much weight.
Right.
You know, there are benefits, like your blood pressure will be lower, your cholesterol will be lower, everything, all your chances for all these like cardiovascular diseases will be lower, less risk for stroke, all of that. We all know these things to be better for you the more or the less weight you gain.
Risk of dying from COVID-19.
Yeah, even COVID, as we're all tired of talking about that, but even COVID, like if you're big, the people who get hospitalized are usually immunocompromised or out of shape. And that's just a fact. We've seen that. So how come that's the narrative we're not pushing? Because I think that piggybacks off of body shaming. So it's like if you tell people to lose weight for their health, they're going to consider that body shaming, where really it's not body shaming, but rather body enabling, I think. It's like, dude, I'm not calling you fat because you look ugly. I'm calling you fat because you literally are, and you could probably benefit from having less weight.
Yes.
So that's what I don't get is the thing here is that I don't think that's getting pushed. It's like losing weight should be good for you. But no, it's like, oh, you tell someone to lose weight, all of a sudden you're shaming them. It's like you're making them a victim. Like, oh man, I'm not doing that at all. I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Check this quote out. I'm surfing Facebook, right? And my cousin, he posted something from Mr. Jiu-Jitsu. He said on Twitter, he quotes, "Some of you fellas need to be men for Halloween because all you've been acting like bitches all year."
I like that.
Yeah, look, like I like what we said before. I think where it's just like there seems to be less and less consequences to being a bitch. You know,
for being
and I'm not saying being a bitch is anything other than being like complaining and whining. You know, and being a victim when you really aren't. Again, we've said before also, where there's real victims. There's people who've been victims of crime, like real crimes, like being physically abused, emotionally abused in general, where it's like people think they're a victim to something, but really aren't, and then they claim themselves to be a victim. It's like, no, you're not. You know, there are real crimes like rape and murder and all that. Those are real victims.
Yeah.
All it really comes down to is I think people should just straight up talk to each other. Because it's not sexy, like Keith said. It's if people don't talk, then it's not sexy. You know, or it sells more to be polarizing. Like if you're the media, you know, it sells more to create a headline out of nothing, you know, and just to try to get people to spur the conversation.
Yeah.
Where it's like they did like CNN with this whole thing with like horse dewormer and Joe Rogan, where it's like, dude, they flat out lied on a headline.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a big ivermectin person. I've never seen it used, but he used it and he was fine. You know, he's just a high profile case. Now, but they didn't see that fit their narrative, and therefore they tarnished him. And they made him look just as bad when they said that he was going to get up and beat up Sanjay Gupta. It's like, what? Like, where are they making this from? Like, it's hard for the news to be objective nowadays because I just feel like they aren't. News just isn't. Like, nobody ever talks about how Florida is better now. Right? Because Florida has been doing things the same pretty much since the start of the pandemic. They've like whatever with masks or whatever with everything else, but their numbers have gone significantly down. Maybe people are getting the vaccine. Maybe people are just having this natural immunity, or maybe people are just being more careful. And nobody ever wants to talk about that because even though they've been doing things the same, it doesn't fit the news media's narrative.
Right.
So therefore they don't talk about it. And it's like, how can you be objective? You don't talk about this stuff. You know, and that's just what the thing with news nowadays is like, I don't trust any of it. You know, and it sucks if you're a kind of person who just listens to the news as gospel.
Right.
Like, don't you ever question it? Dude, even CNN just put, like, look this up. Even CNN just put an article out saying, like, oh, doing your own research do your own research are the four most toxic words. That's dumb, dude.
I did see that.
Clearly, they don't want you doing your own research. They want you to listen to them, and that's it.
They want to spoon feed it to you.
Yeah, they want to spoon feed it to you and be like, nope, no one else can tell you. We're the ones who are telling you the truth.
The authority. Yeah.
Dude.
That's tough.
How is that not a red flag? Like, I'm pretty sure that's out there. Like, somebody, like, see if you could look this up or something like that. Nuts. I swear. There's an article from CNN that says, do your own research is bad. What? That's the whole point of watching news, is to do your own research.
How does that even make sense? Like, and you got to wonder, who in the hell is going to believe that that's a good idea?
Stupid people. People who know less. People who listen to the news like, oh my God. Again, people whose cups aren't full, and people who don't have an outlet, who are looking for something to believe in and who are looking for something to tie their identity to. I think people who don't have that outlet in life look for something to tie their outlet to, and that's who the media really preys on.
Yeah.
Like this person,
like people whose minds are moldable.
Yeah, because their minds aren't already molded by something awesome like a guitar or music or art or something dope.
Or just molded by yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think?
Or real interactions.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like you begin to wonder, like, dude, what the heck? Like, I can't believe the media put that out there. Like, don't do your own research. What? Why? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how did CNN go from being an objective news, well, at least seemingly objective news outlet, to now this like heavily politicized, like, oh, only listen to us and that's it. And I can't believe people watch this stuff, man.
Yeah, man. I think I'm going to go back to this, the point we made earlier. I mean, if you're on your path in life, if you're busy doing things that are true to you, and like you won't have time to, buy into this stupid shit.
Shit.
You won't have time to buy into the lies that people are trying to push onto you. You're going to develop your own identity.
Yeah.
You won't even have time to sulk. Side tangent. It's like when you keep busy, it's great. Post breakup, post anything seemingly bad for you. Just keep busy.
I know. It's like,
You
some people heavily tie with ideology, though, and they tie their identity to ideology.
Yeah.
Or that could be dangerous, man.
Right.
It's,
The ideal partner, the ideal relationship, ideal marriage, ideal career, ideal.
What I mean is like the thought process.
Yes.
Like they tie themselves to a thought process, and because of that, that's not a good thing. Where it's like, because those are thought processes are meant to change, and if you tie yourself to an ideology that's gonna change or will eventually change, it's like you feel like you'll have nothing after it changes. Where it's not it can be a potentially dangerous thing for you as an individual when you tie yourself. Like, have an open mind, understand that not everything is meant to be one way or another. Listen to what other people have to say, and I think when you talk to other people and when you engage in conversation, it can open your mind a little bit more. And just accept that you're not an expert in everything and that you can be wrong. I'm willing to accept that I'm wrong if somebody is willing to explain to me why and how and what they think is right.
Right.
Like, tell me if what you believe is right.
Right.
Like, look, I mean, I might still believe it one way or another, but if you think that this is the right way to go, just tell me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like it follows this list of checkpoints, or this is the reason why.
Yeah.
Like, this is better.
Yeah.
Or this is a different way of thinking about it.
And explain to me without being passive aggressive.
And just explain to me, like, look, like, just talk to me like you would, like, a normal person.
Yeah,
Not like I'm being confrontational.
Exactly.
Like, I have a way of thinking about it, but tell me why you think this is better.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's a very cordial conversation, but that doesn't sell on media, does it?
Yeah.
Like, everybody has to be polarized. So you can't post certain things unless it's like really extreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's funny. Like, I don't think people are really looking at themselves either. I think people like to put other people down, but don't realize they're also doing the same things that they're doing.
Yeah.
What I think is a dumb argument is when people have like videos or something and they post it up there, and then there's somebody who's going to troll them, right? Let's say, like, whatever. And they engage in that troll behavior. And it's like, I can't believe you even have time to make this shitty comment. It's like, but you have the time to also engage with a rebuttal to this comment.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of a bad play there, man.
When you point the finger at someone, there are 3 pointing back at you.
Oh, when you do it like this,
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
Dang, same
That's
thing.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's usually
You
3
know?
pointing back. I have to look at that for a second. Like,
Here's a question. So let's say we magically overcame these social issues as a society.
All right.
And, both sides came together and said, okay, we're not going to talk shit about each other anymore. What would we spend our time on then?
finding something else to talk shit about.
Yeah.
That's just the harsh
nature,
truth.
right?
That's
right?
just human nature.
That's human nature. And also, maybe this is somewhat of a brag, but we're Americans, so clearly we're on top. You know how I know we're on top? We have time to worry about other stuff.
Yeah.
When nobody's being a threat to us. America's on top because now we don't have to worry about invasion. We don't have to worry about other things. Like, we have a pretty strong economy, the strongest economy in the world. We have things going so well for us. We don't have to worry about hardship.
Yeah.
We just now have to make problems for ourselves. We don't have the threat of invasion or like natural disasters unless there's an earthquake here in California.
Yeah.
But the point here again, the point here is that we have things so good, and this is a general statement. We have things so good we don't have to worry about things as a nation.
Right.
Maybe not yet. Who knows? That might be coming. But the point here is, again, at least as of right now, things are so good we can worry about like the biggest thing that makes headlines is people walking out of Netflix because of a thing that had no offensive jokes, I don't think. So, like, I can't believe that's the thing we're worried about, and that's the headline. But again, we're so good that we have it. So, you asked this question whether or not, like, we're, like, if people got together and said, oh, this trans thing, let's put the matter to bed. That's it. We're gonna find something to talk about the next day. Oh, you got an Apple or an Android phone, like. You got a Honda or Toyota, you got a Fender or a Gibson.
Yeah.
Like there's always got to be something to talk about to spur conversation. And that hate is what drives media outlets of all forms. Yeah. It's like, I refuse to be part of that, because that's really what it is. So it's like, if I'm going to be on the media, I'm just looking for good stuff, good feels. And I put good stuff out there. I think I'm not trying to incite anything. I just want to inspire and perhaps also spread more kind attitudes and love. That's what I'm more about. And it's like being on social media longer, eventually they gear you more towards stuff that's polarizing. And that's why I just don't want to be on it, period. But I still am on it because, there's some stuff in there that like...
you find a value.
Find out value, like stuff we put, like how to tune your car's EQ, or soon to be a tuning video, which I think is really dope. That's
gonna be cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope. But like, let's just put good stuff out there. How come that doesn't get pushed more? Yeah, I don't get that. That's a rhetorical question. But like, come on, let's just put more good stuff.
That type of content certainly grabs our seemingly short attention span, shorter now as a society. So again, Tim, circle back. If it's not polarizing, then it won't grab anyone's attention. All right,
I think one of our topics that we were talking about earlier was about duality, right? Look at this post right here. Netflix employees, I guess they condone what I see is like some skimpily dressed dude. These gotta be like younger than 8. These girls gotta be younger than 18 years old.
There was a thing about that, wasn't there?
And then after that,
isn't that from Cuties?
There's outrage over Dave Chappelle, right? Man,
hey, save that picture or send it to me.
Yeah, dude. Like these girls can't be older than like 14.
I think that's the reason why some people stop subscribing to Netflix is because of that. I think I don't know too much about that, but I think that's Cuties. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that that's what it is. And some people were outraged about that, but nobody walked out on Netflix for that.
Yeah.
Trans stuff about Dave Chappelle, which he didn't even say anything hateful, which that could be illegal right there, that top one. But Dave Chappelle? What?
Come on now.
It's the duality. Yeah, the dual world that we live in.
How does that make any sense?
Yeah, I don't know.
Even Dave Chappelle, and I don't want to spoil this, but he talks about like how J.K. Rowling, right?
Okay.
J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter novel series.
All right.
Met like 7 books, right?
Yeah.
All the way from Sorcerer's Stone all the way up to the very end with Deathly Hallows. Very successful. Also very successful movie series, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was even saying like, man, she probably sold more books than the Bible, or like the Bible is jealous, So I'm obviously not, but the point here is that like she's a big time author. She said something along the lines of gender is a fact or was a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, she got canned for it.
Damn.
That's some insanely powerful power, or insanely strong power that the trans community has to take somebody like that down just for saying something like that. And I'm like, what? How does that make any sense? But yet there's people who post stuff about saying the N-word, or some other stuff that's like really bad against black people beating up Asians. You remember that?
Yeah, man.
Yet that stuff's all over social media, and yet that never gets taken down. I've seen it everywhere, and that's part of the other reason I don't want to be on social media. I want to see these older Asian people get beat up for nothing.
Yeah.
That sucks. Some of these people died, man, from these attacks. But yet you see it being pushed everywhere. You think if that was my grandfather, I'd want to see that video, everybody's watching it? No.
Yeah.
Of course not.
How
That's
disheartening.
horrible.
Yeah.
But yet it's in everybody's like feed and stories and blah, 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 and then to inspire like hate. Meanwhile, like Dave Chappelle just says some actually like not even bad stuff about trans stuff. And then all of a sudden you're banned. All of a sudden they want to walk out. What the heck?
Duality.
That like how is that a thing? Like these people are making themselves into a meme, like as you've seen. My goodness. This is nuts, man. Like I can't believe this is the society we live in now. It's so sad. Like I can't believe we've gone this far down.
That's why I really like the Incubus Make Yourself album. If you really listen to the lyrics of that album, it kind of encourages you to be your own person and to not buy into the narrative that it could be anybody, the news, the media, your parents, or your teachers at school try to impress upon you. You make your own narrative, like see through your own eyes in this world and develop your own opinions, and that's it.
And let's say a trans person is doing exactly those things that they're doing. They think that they can see the world better if they are the other gender or the other sex or somewhere along the lines of that.
Oh, interesting.
I think that's one, very plausible, and then two, like, good for you, and I support you in every way that you want to be supported. If you want to be called a certain pronoun, I will call you that. Whatever you want to be called, I'm all for it. It's all about respect. But then when you start pushing that towards other people and shoving it down their throat and making them see things through your vision only, that's where it gets toxic. Like, no, it only has to be this way. That's how it is now. It's like there's nothing objective anymore. It's everything that's whatever they tell us is whatever is right. How does that make any sense? Maybe that's slightly off tangent, but the point here is like, why can't we just like agree to disagree on certain things, but also be respectful? I don't know.
Yeah, man.
For us, I know us all to be good people. I'm confident I'm a good person. Jason, I know you as a good person. Tim, I know you as a good person too. But I guarantee you, no matter how good we try to be and how understanding and polite and tolerant, we're not big right now. We don't have a huge fan base right now. But I have a feeling when somebody digs this up a few years from now, they'll say that we're transphobic, that we're chauvinistic, and we're racist, right? They're going to take what we say out of context and we're going to paint us in a bad light.
So when they dig that video up, they won't dig this up because everybody's selective in what they want to hear. But I'm going to push this out there, or I'm going to push this very clip from what I'm about to say now. And everything you've already said. We're not bad people. I don't look to hurt anyone. I don't look to make people feel bad for the choices they've made. We're simply spurring conversation and talking. Where at least in this point in time, talking about things isn't a crime. I don't think so. You can't, depending on what you talk about, but I'm simply talking here. I'm not telling people to be up in arms, killing other people and putting other people down and making people be slaves. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying,
you're not trying to spark a riot.
I'm not trying to spark riots. I'm not trying to take too many sides or take one side heavily. I just want to know what's going on. And I think when people talk in front, instead of being on media, just saying like, he said this, and it's like, you don't even give me the chance to talk to you. That's what's big in this today's culture is like that they don't like they'll post stuff about, let's again use the instance of Joe Rogan. They'll post something about him without giving him the chance to talk about it. And him, he doesn't really like he doesn't really like do that stuff where he like, engages in stuff like that because it's beneath him. But he kind of that caught his attention because other people were telling him about it, where it's like it got that big. So I think when you say headlines, you got to be able to have somebody talk to you about it. And I think he's been invited by CNN, but he's just not interested because clearly they have an agenda.
Right.
All they're going to do is twist his words.
Of course.
And that's the thing where it's like, why can't people just talk? Look, we're just talking here. Again, we are all good people. I have called trans people whatever pronoun they want to be called. If you want to be called she, I respectfully call you a she. If you want to be called he, I will respectfully call you a he, a they. Whatever you want. If you have a preference to one way or another, we might not have the same preferences, but that doesn't mean we don't have to be mean to each other. We can still get along. We're probably similar in so many more ways, and this just goes for everything. We're similar in so many ways than we are different, but yet all we focus on today is the differences that we have, and those are so few, but yet we're such a negative affirmation-based society where it's like because we disagree on this, like that affirms that we are definitely completely different people who will never get along, where it's like, dude, we can all get along. We can all agree that we want good health. We want to eat food. We all be loved. We want to care for our loved ones, right? We don't want to see anybody we care about get hurt. Don't you think we all want that? Like, I think those are very basic needs in life, again, with the Maslow's, but it's like we can agree to that. So why don't we go from there and just engage in conversation, find some commonality and just look, let's just hash out the differences, but not have to throw fists over it. Let's talk. Don't put us out there without talking. So that's what I don't get. It's like nobody gives you a chance for a rebuttal. Everybody just wants to hear what you said, take it out of context, and then hammer you down, and never put you. It's like there's no talking anymore.
Shut up, I'm right.
Shut up, I'm right, and that's it. No matter what you say, because you said it, you're wrong. That's the whole thing with the James Gunn thing. Remember he said something along the lines, I forget what it was. He said something like a tweet a long time ago, and Disney fired him over it. But because they fired him over it, things Zoe Saldana and whoever, we're not going to shoot Guardians 3 anymore because you don't have this guy. But that also goes to show that he was that good. He was just good at his craft. He was a good director, and those Guardians movies are really good. So they were willing to get behind him on that one. But again, it's like we're not bad people. We're good people. We're just talking. Okay. Yeah. I'm not married to these ideas. If you're willing to come here and talk to me about it and open my mind, I'm willing to hear it. I've had a lot of conversations with gay people because I'm not gay. I don't understand certain things that gay people do or why they do it. So yesterday I spoke to a gay person, and they opened my mind up a little bit. And I asked the question I was simple in asking this question where I was like, how come the gay community is just a little more open than, say, the straight community or lesbians? And, I was just because I've asked that question before, but I don't think I've ever asked it to a gay person, not like this person. And this person was just like, well, they were saying that they believe that the consequences are just less, with straight, with women, let's say, there's a consequence of getting pregnant, obviously, which is biological STDs, obviously, but that happens with gay people too. Okay. It's also the stigma of women looking easy, and looking like they would get away with, or they make it look like, quote, a slut if they slept on the first date or just got there's none of that connotation with stigmas. Gay people. Yeah. So we were just talking, man. We were just talking about what it is that the gay community believes is the reason why they can get away with being a little more open and having more open relationships, where it's it's more frowned upon with a straight relationship. So I was just talking. So why can't we do something like that?
Just talk. Yeah.
I know I went off there, but
that's all right. Face-to-face conversation, there's so much value in that because just to kind of further drive my point earlier is that you hear the meaning behind words spoken with the inflection, the face-to-face interaction. There is no veil of digital veil to hide behind. And you know, when these trolls are when they know that they are behind the safeguards of a computer screen and keyboard or phone or whatever, it's like it enables them. It enables social media to be weaponized because they're protected. But I don't know, just face-to-face interaction. There's so much value in that.
That's
you really hear a person out. You hear the emotion. You hear intention. You hear whether or not they're being true or not. There's just more integrity to these organic conversations.
100%.
Yeah. So call me or FaceTime me or see me. Come visit me at the house or come see me, instead of texting me. Yeah. Sometimes I don't get it.
So that's really what we should end on is like, the value of face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
Where we should all just talk instead of just being up in arms thinking that we heard something.
Yeah. Because you're able to hash it out.
Because like when people don't want to hear the other opinion, they just don't want to accept that they could be wrong.
Right.
Where it's like people should have the mindset where they can be wrong because it's true. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. So I think if people were just willing to accept that they could be wrong or be proven wrong, not in a bad way, but it's like, look, just open your mind up a bit. That's it. You become a better person, I think.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd like to hammer on home. Any final thoughts, Keith?
I'm fucking tired. I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah, so we'll hit it there.
If what I said wasn't coherent to you viewers, it's 3:00 in the morning here, and I'm fucking tired. So,
Keith, thank you for staying up.
Yeah, thanks
with
for staying
us.
up, bro. So
once again,
follow us again on social media. We're everywhere. Stay hydrated, and we'll see you in the next one, man. All right.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening. All right. Bye, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to today's Indescendants podcast. For more podcasts and Indescendants content, hit the subscribe button below.